everybody? Welcome to Cocktails in the War Room. I am your host, Mistress Carrie, and welcome to my war room. Thank you so much for joining me every Tuesday night at 8:30. And it's a little hectic around here in the war room today. First of all, my co-host is on a rampage with the pillows right out of the gate. Hey, what is going on? What are you doing? If you're new to the war room, first of all, this is how things unravel, like right off the bat. That's Wednesday, by the way. She is my co-host, Wednesday the Goth Pug, my loyal compatriot, and, this is what she does. If you're new to the war room, chime in on the comments. Let us know where you're watching from, and let us know that it's your first time so the war room family can welcome you properly. And okay, can you move over and sit down? Sit. No, move over and sit down. Sit down. Don't nibble on my fingers. Hey, you have to back up. What are you doing? Sit. Sit. Good girl. Good girl. Matt's watching in air. What's going on? Yeah, she's doing pug things. Exactly, Mike. Rachel Zero is actually not here in the war room. She is, I don't actually know where Zero is, but she is not here in the war room right now. Don't remember ever seeing that pic next to the woman. Wait, which one are you talking about? Are you talking about the war room pictures? Which one are you talking about? Oklahoma first time, says Bill. What's up, Bill? So I apologize for everything being a little crazy today here in the war room. We have done this 187 times now. Is that right? We started doing this every night at the beginning of the lockdown on March 14th of 2020. We did 80 shows in a row. And then once we launched the Mistress Carrie podcast, we made Cocktails in the War Room a weekly show. And we've been doing that ever since. And now we're 187 episodes deep. And Wednesday's been here for almost all of them. Are you rubbing your butt on the couch, Wednesday? What? You're not supposed to show the pug hole on the show. You know this. By the way, if you've never watched the War Room before, the pug hole is just one of many inside jokes. If you go to my blog at mistresscarrie.com, the very first blog post is something called the Dictionary, which is where we put all of my inside jokes and all the glossary terms and all of the things that we have come up with, phrases we have coined along the way so that you can follow along. Because the War Room family, as they have dubbed themselves, they don't want to leave you out of all of the jokes. So seriously. I want to let you guys know, actually, while Wednesday is hogging the spotlight over here, that yesterday was Wednesday's 4th anniversary with me. Yesterday was her gotcha day. So she came home with me 4 years ago today, which is just insane. She turned 4 back in April, but yesterday was the 4th anniversary of her actually coming home with me. And well, as you can see, life has not been the same since. Keith says, pug hole. What's up, Will? We hope you're doing as well. Mark says, cheers. Jen says, what's up, everyone? And there go the pillows, says Donna. Exactly. What's up, Bill? Now she's sniffing where she rubbed her butt. Michelle, I know. And I have to sit here for the rest of the show before I can get out the Febreze and figure out what the hell she's been doing. So let's just not even think about her rubbing her butt on the couch right now. Okay, can we just... Heidi Ho family, says Phil. Hi, Mark. Hi, Mike, says Rachel. Happy Gotcha Day and happy anniversary, Melissa says to Wednesday. Faster Pussycat at New Bedford. That's where Eric is right now. What's up, Eric? That's fantastic. No big balloon for Wednesday this year. What, for her birthday? The balloon got a little out of control with Wednesday. I got the balloon for her birthday, actually, when we were like in the middle of lockdown. And because her birthday actually fell on the day we were doing the show, and her birthday has not fallen on the day that we've been doing the show since. So Mariah joining us. Hey guys, long time no see. Good to be back. Nice to have you back, Mariah. Eric says, great show talking about Faster Pussycat. Michelle says, we all love Wednesday. Love the pug, says Jeff. She wanted a cookie, says Thomas. I know, she always wants cookies. And I got to tell you, when we start actually moving the equipment into the war room to do the show, She instantly comes up and sits on the couch now. She is completely trained to want to be a part of the show and to come up and sit in her spot. And literally, while I'm putting the computer together and everything, she sits right there and gets herself comfortable, and then just eye fucks me and wonders why she's not being given treats. Hey, can you stop rubbing your pug hole all over the couch? Can you stop? Here, take this. Do you want this? Here, take the crab. What are you doing? Can you stop, please? Can you knock it off? Nobody likes somebody with a stinky, itchy butt, okay? Oh my goodness. The wheels have fallen off the wagon already. All right, I want to bring you guys up to speed on a couple of things. So one, I told you guys about Wednesday's Gotcha Day anniversary, which obviously was yesterday. Two, part of the reason why I've been so discombobulated, for anybody that's new that may not know me as well as some of the other people here in the war room, one of the things that I love to do to de-stress, it's kind of two sides of the spectrum, right? I ride motorcycles and I skydive, and then I have a giant vegetable garden, herb garden, and then I have flower beds all around the house. And I was doing some planting after I got off the air on Saturday, and I stepped on a stick in my flower bed. And anybody that knows, when you have gardens, the soil is so soft because every year you're churning it over and digging it up. And so my foot went way down into the soil and something stabbed right up through the bottom of my foot. And I thought that I got it out. And tonight I'm realizing I don't think I got whatever is in my foot out. So I was Googling urgent care to see when I got done here in the war room if there was a place, because I'm obviously not going to go and tie up an emergency room and tie up a doctor to get a giant wooden shaft out of my foot. I think that it went straight up through my foot, so it doesn't look like very much, but I think that it's all up in there, and it fucking hurts. And if you're, new to the show, I have a pretty high threshold for pain. So the fact that this thing is killing me as much as it is kind of driving me crazy. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it to an urgent care by the time the show ends tonight, because I think they all close. So it might be something ass crack of dawn tomorrow morning that I am going to be running to urgent care to try and get this giant piece of wood or whatever it is that's stuck in my foot out. Look at her foot, ding, 3 weeks. Is your tetanus shot up to date? Donna wants to know. I have no idea, Donna. Probably not, but who knows? So yeah, I'm going to have to get a tetanus shot too. Joy. Tracy, the whole time I was working on the sit rep for tomorrow, late this afternoon before the show, I literally put a soak basin in MCHQ in the studio and had my foot in an Epsom salt bath while I was working on the show today. So the big or the little foot, Thomas, I was waiting for somebody to ask that. The big foot, the good foot, the foot I can feel is the foot that is the one. Yes, it was the big foot, which seriously, it's my luck. Every 10 years for a tetanus, I know, Mark, and I don't know if I'm up to date with the tetanus now. The last time I remember getting a barrage of shots was when I went to Afghanistan, and that was in 2011, and obviously that was more than 10 years ago. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. One thing, anybody that's new to the war room, you can usually tell what I'm drinking based on the glass. Tonight I opted for vodka soda, but I put it in this glass that I got at one of my high school reunions because it's graduation week, and I want to congratulate all of the Blue Devils from the Leominster High School for graduating, and so I wanted to show a little love with my Leominster High Blue Devils glass that I got at one of my reunions. So congratulations to all of the Blue Devils that graduated this week. At least you'll know you had all of your shots before your giveaway, or your getaway, I should say. Yeah, so we got a lot to talk about. I want to let you guys know that next week's show, episode 188 of Cocktails in the War Room, is going to be live from Key West. Oh, yeah. So this is no surprise to anyone with a Mistress Carrie backstage pass, but to everybody here in the War Room. So what I've been doing the last few weeks is I have been working on the air on the network a lot. And part of that was to cover for everyone else's vacations, but also to get myself ready to be able to go on my own vacation. And it is a family vacation. So my husband and I and the kids are all going to Key West. It's kind of a scuba diving, snorkeling, family vacation. It is with a bunch of other special operations and veterans and their families. And I'm pretty excited about it. I really want to get a lot more information about the different events that this organization hosts. And that way I'll be able to give you a lot of information next week. So, yeah, next week should be pretty interesting. I have no idea where I'm going to be doing the show from in Key West, but we're going to do the show in Key West next week. So I am definitely taking you guys with me, and it's going to be interesting. I don't know if I'm going to have guests. I am not going to be on the air from there. So the podcast and the war room are basically going to be the only things that are going to be happening while I'm gone. And I'm going to be gone for over a week, which I'm really excited about. As I was saying to the Backstage Pass holders over the weekend, we had our monthly live stream. The last time I got away was to go visit my husband while he was deployed. And while that was amazing to be able to go to the United Arab Emirates and go sightseeing, operating on such a drastic time change in such a short period of time and trying to cram in so many things, I was exhausted. I really kind of jacked up my my shoulder while I was there, and it was obviously not the entire family. And so that's going to be pretty cool this year. Ralph says, don't forget the sunscreen. Trust me, I'm a very organized packer. It's from my years driving trucks and a roadie before I was on the air that I traveled so much and was in and out of hotels all the time that I'm a very organized packer. I'm very pragmatic when it comes to that. And I like to lay everything out ahead of time, really make sure that I have everything, figure out what bag everything is going to go in. So I've begun that process, and the sunscreen is definitely in the packing pile for sure. Best sunsets ever in Key West. I know Mallory Square, for anybody that's never been to Key West, is on the west side of the island, and it's just this big open square, and right around sunset every day they have like a sunset festival, and street performers and food vendors come out. All the bars that have outdoor patios get packed, and everyone goes there. Like if the island were, on a tippy thing, like everyone in Key West would be on that side of the island, and it would literally tip over into the sea because people just go there to watch the sunset. And then they have these amazing sunset cruises that you can go on, which we are planning on doing while we're down there. So I'm really excited to go. Key West is one of my favorite places in the world. I've been several times. Before my husband's last combat deployment, we actually went down there and went on a vacation, just the two of us, and he had never been before, and I had. And so now he and I have both been there, but the kids have not been there before, so we're pretty excited. The question of the night, are you going to rock a purple thong on the beach? Brito, it's so not happening. First of all, when you have purple hair, you don't wear a lot of purple because you look like Violet Beauregard, and you look like you need to go to the juicing room because it's a lot. And thong bikinis, like seriously, have you ever sat on the beach, you get sand on you? Why would you want to do that in a thong? Then it would just be like sandpaper up your butt, and it would just be so uncomfortable. So no, to answer the question of the night, I will not be wearing a purple thong. Are you going to rent a motorcycle in Key West? Heidi wants to know. No, but we are planning on doing a lot of bicycling, which is one of the only ways to really get around down there. The thing about motorcycles, Key West isn't that big. It's like 3 miles across, and there's not a ton of parking, and it's really hot. We looked at the forecast. It's going to be like 85, 86 degrees every day. And we're going to be down there in shorts and sandals. I'm not going to want to put jeans and riding boots on to get on the bike. And we're going to be with the kids. And so there's going to be some scuba diving. There's going to be some snorkeling. There's an amazing sightseeing tour that I have done that I want to take them on, where you go on a jet ski tour and literally you go on jet skis around the entire island of Key West with a guide. And all of the World War II history that is down in Key West is fascinating. There's submarine slips down there where they were hiding submarines. There's wrecks of enemy submarines that are off the coast. There's just a lot of amazing stuff. So I definitely want to take them there. I hear the aquarium is awesome, so I want to go there. The sunset cruise, like I said, but the kids are teenagers, and so we're letting them kind of do some Googling and figure out where they want to go. Trina says, the juicing room, LOL. Yeah, exactly. You look like the Oompa Loompas should just be rolling you down the hall. It's tough to wear a lot of purple when this is your reality. So, yeah, Christina says, the vagine. Exactly. Way too much sand in the vagine wearing a purple thong. So let's see. Awesome coffee in Key West. Christine says, absolutely. Good history lesson in the Keys. Yeah, Betty, I love that jet ski tour, and I went on it years ago. So that's one of the things that I definitely want to be able to do with my husband and the kids is, you ride your own jet skis. Obviously, the kids would have to come with us, but and you go with a tour guide. And so you go and he lets you open up the jet skis in the open water. And then you kind of go in and you go around and you really are able to go by the mangroves. And they give you this amazing historical tour of the entire island. And it takes a few hours, but it's really cool. And to do it on jet skis is pretty awesome. So drink purple pussy in Key West. Is that a thing? Because if it is, I want to try one. Maybe I'll have that as my drink in the war room next week. Okay, so speaking of that, I wanted to have kind of a tropical drink this week. So if you're new to the war room, one of the things that we do each week is we dig through a cocktail book and we come up with a really cool drink idea. And because it's summer already, I thought this would be a great drink recipe, but also because I'm going to be in the Keys next week. This is called the Kiwi. I apologize because it has gin in it, which we know I am not a huge fan of, but I love kiwi fruit. So it's called just the Kiwi. It's got 2 ounces of gin, half an ounce of triple sec, an ounce of kiwi puree, and a dash of that gomi syrup. It says shake the ingredients and strain it into an old-fashioned glass with crushed ice, which we have already talked about here in the War Room as being the greatest of all ice. I know that there are some fridges out there now that have like craft ice that you can get it in like giant balls, but crushed ice to me is the absolute best. I don't know where you get kiwi fruit puree. Let me try and say that again. Kiwi fruit puree, unless you are making it yourself, but I love kiwi fruit. So I would be tempted to try this and a little triple sec in there for like the little orange citrusy thing. I know it's gin, but it could be kind of good. So that's called the Kiwi. Gin, triple sec, kiwi fruit. Why can't I say kiwi fruit? Kiwi fruit puree. And of course the gomi, it's like the simple syrup, I guess, in a highball glass. So, or an old-fashioned glass, I should say. So there you go. Hold on. I'm going to put it up on the screen so that you guys can take a screenshot. Where is it? There it is. All right. The Kiwi. See if I can find some kiwi. What? Kiwi fruit puree. Why can't I say that? I've been on the air. I have not had a day off in almost 2 weeks on the air. And between that and the sit reps and the podcast episodes, I spent a lot of time behind the microphone the last couple of weeks. I think my mouth is just breaking down at this point. All right. So speaking of the podcast episodes, let's recap last week's episode 104. Believe it or not, it's crazy that we're at 104 episodes. Episode 104 last week featured Jeremy Popoff, one of the Popoff brothers, the guitar player from Lit, joined us on the podcast. And I thought he was really cool. I loved having him on the show. I had never interviewed him before. Another example of amazing rock music coming out of Nashville. It just keeps coming up over and over and over again about these musicians that have either relocated there just for logistical purposes or have gone there to become part of the Nashville kind of songwriting scene. And it's just unreal how much rock music is getting made. Yeah, it's easy for you, Mariah, to type kiwi fruit puree, but it's not easy to keep saying it over and over. Tape this one for future use. Kiwi fruit puree. Say it 5 times fast. Voorhees, it's not easy, okay? Try putting that in the dictionary. I think I'm going to have to, Keith. Seriously. It's like, why is my mouth broken? So having Jeremy on the podcast, the band out on the road, they got new music. There's just a lot going on. And there's also like this 4-episode podcast analyzing my own worst enemy, which is really hilarious. It's linked in the show notes of episode 104 if you want to go back and check that out as well. I had to say you both relaxed when each other had a great conversation, Will says. We really did. And, sometimes I'm a little bit nervous about meeting people for the first time, like on Zoom, right? Because I'm so used to doing these interviews either backstage at a show in person or having them come into my studio, which obviously then I'm in my own element. And so it's a little bit easier for me to kind of concentrate, and learning to do these interviews and to make personal connections with people through Zoom or through the telephone has been a real challenge the last couple of years. Let me see. Mark says lots of recording studios there. Exactly. There's lots of everything. Most of the tour buses are based there. A lot of the techs are based there. And there are so many record companies that have offices there now. And with all of the studios, the engineers, and the fact that you're able to have a little bit of a more spread out quality of life, meaning that you can get a little bit of a bigger house, or at least you used to before everybody moved to Nashville, that you could have a little bit more of a suburban lifestyle and still be fully immersed into the music scene. And obviously now that everybody has started moving to Nashville, housing prices have gone up, commutes have gotten longer, the airport is completely overwhelmed. I was down in Nashville last year for the Rockin' Pod podcast convention, and they were doing massive construction at the airport. And a lot of the bands I talked to, they're just like, the infrastructure of Nashville was not prepared for the influx of people moving there. But everyone from Seether and Evanescence, Hailstorm, Lit, there's just so many bands that have either moved there, or people like Aaron Jones and Buck Cherry and Dorothy that have been on the podcast talking about how they purposefully went there just to record the record. Oh my God, can we just start the show over? They went there to record their records because there's just so much going on there. Awesome drink, Southern Comfort, vodka, triple sec, slow gin, amaretto, cranberry juice, and Sprite. That sounds delicious, Ralph. There are a ton of live venues, Mark. Don't let me forget that. Yeah, that just Music Row. I mean, there's a ton of agents, publishing lawyers, live venues. The whole city is just built on the foundation of live music. To go a little bit off topic, but something that I read this week, the Country Music Association, the CMA, they call it, is having their big giant music festival in Nashville next week. And they made an announcement because obviously every music festival has rules, things you can and can't bring inside, things you can't do, things you can't wear. I mean, if you go into the fine print of any venue, any concert, any festival, there are the do's and don'ts. And a lot of time it's drugs, weapons, that kind of stuff that you can't be naked, all of that kind of stuff. The CMA Festival in Nashville made the announcement this week that one of the things they listed as not acceptable behavior at the festival is the Confederate flag, which I could not believe. The fact that the Country Music Association in Nashville has finally come out and said, we can all agree that that imagery is negative. We want all of the people that attend our festival to feel welcome. And that is not a symbol of anything that makes people feel welcome. And so it is not allowed and will not be tolerated. And I couldn't believe it. because even as a kid, for me, being born and raised in the Northeast, watching the Dukes of Hazzard on TV or anything like that, I never quite understood the Confederate flag and the pride that people took from it because I grew up in the Northeast, where there is so much history, not only through the American Revolution, but there is just so much education about the Civil War. And I mean, I literally have a house that's part of the Underground Railroad around the corner in my neighborhood. And so I remember being a kid and asking about the Confederate flag and, just having it be shrugged off. And they're like, they're in the South and they think it's cool. And so that's kind of what they're doing. And, obviously, as I've gotten older and learned more, and obviously, doing all of the work that I do with the military, I understand that, when you get told stories from your grandparents and you grow up in the South, that, no one wants to admit they lost, right? No one wants to admit they got their ass kicked. And so you are going to take pride in the service of your family members that fought in the war and, whatever. But I personally, just as me, I think it's ridiculous. I've never seen a war where the loser got to fly the flag and put up monuments dedicated to the generals that lost the war and whatever. It just what? So I understand that this has been a political hot button, and I just never understood the pride in it. And I never understood people flying it that weren't from the South, because at that point you have no ties to it whatsoever. And so now to hear that the Country Music Association in Nashville is barring any display of the Confederate flag at their big country music festival next week, I thought that was crazy. Will says I can't wear my Skinnerd shirts anymore. Yeah, it's just crazy to me that it's taken until now for people, and I don't know if it's because finally African American people, citizens, feel safe enough to be able to voice their displeasure with the imagery. I don't know if it's just been so long now that kids have grown up reading the history books and really understanding. I don't know if it's the resurgence of white supremacy around the world and especially here in the United States. I don't know why all of a sudden the Country Music Association would be making such a bold statement, which I applaud them for. But I saw that and I was like, wow, that's crazy. Rachel says the only place for that flag is in a museum to learn about the history, which I totally agree. I think that's where the statues belong. I mean, if you've ever been to Arlington National Cemetery, that's where the cemetery got the land, is that the government confiscated the land to bury the dead there. And because they lost. And so I was taken aback by the announcement, because to me it was the first time that the country music kind of community and genre made that kind of a bold statement, and I thought it was pretty crazy. Mark says, I have the Confederate flag on the wall in my room. Mark, the beauty of the United States is that you have the right to do that. To me, it just doesn't represent anything that I think is great about America, other than you're exercising a freedom that I would not want to exercise. Like, you have the freedom to fly it. I just don't understand what you're trying to say by doing it. I think there's a lot of people that just want to fly it to prove that they can, which, okay, fine, I guess, if that's what you want to do. But I think that, when you actually go back and don't erase history, acknowledge it and do better. Barbara, exactly. That's why it has to be, that's why when you go to like World War II museums, I just was at the American Heritage Museum over the weekend at this amazing event for the Fisher House. And there is a lot of Nazi stuff there. A lot of Nazi banners and uniforms. There's Nazi aircraft. The swastikas are everywhere in there, but it is a war military history museum. That's where that stuff, that's where all of that stuff belongs. So, and by the way, if you have not been to the American Heritage Museum in Hudson, Massachusetts, it is spectacular. It is amazing. The collection of things, military memorabilia dating all the way back to World War I, uniforms, aircraft. There's a full Scud missile in there with the launcher. It's unbelievable. There's a giant piece of the steel from the World Trade Center in there. It's just unbelievable. And they're having a lot of events that include World War II reenactments. They have a whole massive car collection, and they're doing a special thing for Father's Day. So you just got to go. If you haven't gone, it's really, really cool. Especially if you have a veteran in the family, it might make for a great Father's Day weekend kind of a trip. It would be really cool. So I didn't mean to get sidetracked talking about Nashville when we were talking about last week's podcast episode. But again, it literally took me back when I read that the CMA was barring the Confederate flag at their event next week. That's episode 104 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. So if you haven't checked it out yet, definitely go and listen to it. Jeremy Popoff was a great guest. I would have him on the show anytime. Mark says, our freedoms are being erased one by one. Well, it depends on what kind of freedom you want. If it's your freedom to own slaves, yes, that's getting erased. And you should talk about freedoms being erased and have a uterus. But I digress. So episode 105 of the Mistress Carrie podcast goes live tonight at midnight. And new full-length episodes come out on the podcast every Wednesday. Episode 105 comes out at midnight tonight. And it is another guest I was so excited to have on the show. Billy Howardell from Ashes Divide and A Perfect Circle has a self-titled album coming out this Friday. Well, not self-titled, but it's under the moniker Billy Howardell. It's not an Ashes Divide record, although we did talk about that in this week's episode. And it is not an A Perfect Circle record. He is releasing this record under the name Billy Howardell for the first time in his career. I have been a massive fan of his for years. I love the music that he makes. I've interviewed him a few times on the radio over the years, and I was super excited that he agreed to come on the podcast. And this new album, they sent me in advance of the album. And it is, if you loved the early to mid 80s kind of goth rock aesthetic, I'm talking about Depeche Mode, The Cure, Tears for Fears, a lot of that kind of style of music, specifically Depeche Mode and The Cure. This album is kind of a tribute to the music that he loves. We had a great conversation about his musical upbringing and his inspiration. And he spent a lot of time talking about how he grew up listening to the music that his family listened to, but that early 80s kind of alternative rock was the first music that he kind of listened to and was like, no, this is mine. And so this album for him is an homage to that. Melissa wants to know what shirt I'm wearing. I almost forgot to tell you about it, Melissa. Good eyes. I'm wearing an old school Bon Jovi t-shirt from the Slippery When Wet tour. They did 3 nights, sold out with Skid Row at what used to be Great Woods in Mansfield, Massachusetts. All 3 of them sold out, 45,000 tickets. And it was one of the best shows I had ever seen. I got to sit in like the 3rd row. My aunt, Auntie Ange, got me the tickets. It joins us here in the War Room a lot. And I dug this out because over the weekend it was announced that Alec John Such, the original bass player from Bon Jovi, passed away at his home in South Carolina at the age of 70. And I don't think I ever realized how much older he was than all of the other members of the band. John Bon Jovi put up a tribute to Alec John Such on Sunday, basically saying that Alec John Such, the original bass player from Bon Jovi, grew up friends with Tico Torres. And Alec was the one that convinced Richie Sambora to go and see the band in a club. And so a lot of the band members of the band Bon Jovi met through Alec John Such. He ended up leaving the band in the early 90s, and it wasn't because of a falling out. It's that he was 10 years older than everyone else in the band, and he just didn't want to tour all the time. He didn't want to work that hard anymore. Obviously, being in the band through all of the heyday, the New Jersey album, the Slippery When Wet album, he'd made plenty of money, and so he basically retired from music. He did reunite with the band when they got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and was there to get inducted and performed with the band. And I believe that's the last time he performed with the band live. But they were, bar none, my favorite band when I was in high school. And I loved a lot of music back then, including the stuff we're talking about, The Cure, Duran Duran, Depeche Mode, all of that stuff. But I really loved a lot of the 80s metal, everything from like Maiden and Dio and Judas Priest all the way up through, the more hair stuff, the Skid Rows and the Bon Jovis, the Def Leppards, the Motley Crue. I loved all of it. And, we've lost a lot of musicians over the years early. And it really bummed me out that even though he hasn't been in the band in a long time, the realization that he was 70 years old and passed away just kind of blew my mind. TMZ came out today and said that he had gotten up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and didn't feel well and called to a friend that was in the house, and that friend helped him get back into bed. And I guess Alec was just like, I just want to lay down or whatever. And the friend left him alone and then went back in to check on him, and he was unresponsive, and then obviously called the paramedics, and they did every life-saving measure that they could, and they were not able to revive him. And that was a statement from the coroner's office and the medical examiner's office to TMZ. So it just kind of, it really bummed me out. And so I wanted to have a little tribute to Alec John Such. So I wore one of my old school, high school Bon Jovi shirts. So, but that's one of the things that Billy Howardell and I were talking about, was the music that moved us in those formative musical years, where you're formulating who it is that you are going to become and what the music you love says about you. And he really loved a lot of that synth-based alternative music, and talked about how it was really hard to make that kind of music at the time because there was such a huge disparity because of how expensive synthesizers were at the time. Obviously now a computer has all of the sound effects and you're able to duplicate a lot of those original synth sounds. But back then it was hard to get a synthesizer in your garage. It was a lot easier to get a guitar from Sears and Roebuck, which he actually got and told me the story of. Let's see. Okay. Can we just not get into this and just enjoy MC? Look, I apologize for kind of talking about the Nashville stuff. I wanted to bring it up just because I thought that it was a step kind of moving forward about inclusion, and a pretty bold statement when it comes to including new people into the world of country music, which I think is a huge thing for country music that they have fought for a long time, is that they're not inclusive. I mean, there's a handful of artists that are African American making country music, and there's just not a lot of other artists. It's not as diverse as some other genres of music. Rock music, it comes up all the time in the podcast that it is welcoming and inclusive, and there are a lot of people that fit under that rock umbrella. Immigrants and minorities, and so many women that are making unbelievable rock music now. And it's something we talk about in these podcast episodes a lot. And so I thought it was pretty bold for the Country Music Association to make that. But Trina says, Depeche Mode was everything for me from 15 to now. Trina, you are going to love my conversation with Billy Howardell because he gushes over Depeche Mode in this episode. Let's see. Barbara says it's okay to talk about hard things. Well, that's one of the things that we're supposed to be able to do here in the War Room. We're just supposed to be able to do it as grown-ups, and we're supposed to be as factually accurate as possible, that this is not a propaganda machine here, that if we're going to talk about things and have opinions, they have to be based in truth and fact. And that we have to be respectful. It's okay to disagree. You can have your own personal feelings about things. What I think people lately have thought about is having your own set of facts. And I think when it comes to the Civil War, we have a lot of facts. I mean, people are arguing about COVID and vaccines. This is a pretty new issue that scientists are still learning about. It's something I spent a lot of time talking to the Backstage Pass holders about in our private live stream over the weekend. The effect that COVID has had on my mom and her Alzheimer's has really opened my eyes. And, if you are young, if you are healthy, if you are vaccinated or not, if you're not worried about yourself, the older people are the ones we've talked about taking care of. But we've always talked about, people with these pre-existing conditions, whether it's emphysema or, other things that would keep them from being able to breathe. Even though my mom was vaccinated and boosted, I never thought that the Alzheimer's would be affected by COVID the way that it has been. It's shocking. And so the reason why I talk about it is all I can do. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an expert in communicable diseases. But if you have family members that are dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's, COVID could make them a lot worse, because it has in my mom's case, and it has been heartbreaking to deal with. And so when it comes to facts and stuff, to get back on track, I think we have enough facts when it comes to the Civil War that we kind of know what happened and kind of know why things happened. And I'll just leave it at that. But episode 105 of the Mistress Carrie podcast goes live at midnight tonight, featuring Billy Howardell. Don't forget that if you listen to the Mistress Carrie podcast, oh wait, by the way, it was down at the bottom of the screen. The Mistress Carrie podcast launched on June 10th of 2020. And so coming up in just a couple of days, we're going to be celebrating the 2-year anniversary. We've already, had the 100th episode, obviously, and it comes out every week. So there are numbered episodes that have come out every week since the podcast started. Bonus episodes have come out that aren't counted in that numerical count, like Billy Howardell is episode 105. But it's pretty crazy that we're coming up just a few days away from the second anniversary of the launch of the podcast. So I wanted to make sure that we talked about that. Not only do you get the full-length episodes, the bonus episodes, the after-action reports when we have guests here in the War Room, but every weekday you also get the situation report, which is on every Monday through Friday on the podcast. It uploads at 3 a.m., so no matter how early you're getting up in the morning, you can get the rundown of all your rock news, music headlines, and your entertainment updates and all of that. And so there'll be a sit rep tomorrow as well. And it's just a great way. It takes 5 minutes, and it's all the headlines. And then the links are all in the show notes. So if I touch on a topic that you're really excited about or interested in, then you can click the link and read more. Oh my goodness. So my friend Duncan, who is a World War II historian, is messaging us here in the War Room. Amazon delivered me a wonderful daughter today. Now, Duncan, oh my goodness, hold on, let me see if I can. Oh my goodness. Duncan! Oh, congratulations! When we found out that my friend Duncan and his wife were expecting, and because he's a World War II historian and the due date was right around the anniversary of D-Day, that has been a joke with all of us for a while. Congratulations to Duncan and his now growing family. Duncan, you're going to be an amazing girl dad. I am so excited for you guys. Look at her. Oh, so excited. Congratulations, Duncan. Let's see. Jonathan says you're going to celebrate the anniversary of the podcast by going on vacation. Absolutely. Oh my God, she's adorable, says Rachel. He says, thank you. Congratulations on your beautiful daughter, says Donna. Beautiful baby, says Paula. She is perfect, says Barbara. Adorable picture, says Elsa. Oh my God, she is so sweet, says Christina. Yeah, Duncan, that's just amazing. Oh my God, I bet she smells so good in her little fingers and toes. Just amazing. So I can't wait to meet her. I'm so excited for you guys. Okay. So not only do you get the sit rep, but you get all the bonus episodes and everything. So you want to make sure that you're subscribing to the podcast. By the way, the podcast integration on Facebook has gone away. I've been warning you guys for the last week or two that it was going to go away, and Friday was the last day that podcasts automatically propagated on your professional pages on Facebook. So if you are used to listening to the podcast on the player, that would automatically show up on your timeline if you like the Mistress Carrie page. That's not going to happen anymore. So you got to subscribe to the podcast. There's tons of places to do it. And of course, the Mistress Carrie podcast is part of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Okay, podcast locations. So I want to let you guys know that the entire Pantheon Podcast Network has changed podcast hosts this week. And one of the reasons why we changed is because of the amazing metrics that we are going to get on the host that we're using now, which, by the way, is the host I started with on the podcast when I launched the podcast independently. When I joined Pantheon, I changed podcast hosts to join the network, and then the network changed podcast hosts as a whole and went to the host that I was using originally. One of the great things about this move is we are going to get a lot more details, not only about the countries that are listening to the Mistress Carrie podcast, but the cities within those countries. So in the coming weeks, now that the podcast is getting up and running on the new host, it's going to take a few weeks for a lot of this data to propagate, and I'm really excited about some of the info that I'm going to be able to share with you guys. So keep listening for that. Next couple of weeks, we'll deal with that here in the War Room. I got another ticket giveaway for you guys here in the War Room. I have loved being able to get you guys tickets and to be able to share the wealth. Backstage pass holders get access to a lot of exclusive ticket giveaways. But every once in a while, I'm able to get my hands on a bunch of tickets to be able to offer them up to the War Room at large. And coming up on June 13th, Sammy Hagar and the Circle and George Thorogood and the Destroyers are bringing the Crazy Times Tour to the Xfinity Center. The show is June 13th. I have tickets to give away. Here's how you can get them. Click the contact button in the top right-hand corner of MistressCarrie.com. Then send me a message with the word Sammy in the subject. Make sure that I get your email address and your full name when you send the message through MistressCarrie.com. And when Cocktails in the War Room is done tonight, I'm going to go starting with the first message I get, and I'm going to start filling as many winners as I can with as many pairs of tickets as I have. So if you want to go and see Sammy Hagar and the Circle on the Crazy Times Tour with George Thorogood and the Destroyers, where no one will be drinking whatsoever at the show, there will be no fun had. There will be no amazing medleys and cover songs. It's just not going to be any fun at all. So if you want to have zero fun, then go see Sammy Hagar and the Circle on the Crazy Times Tour with George Thorogood. And of course, I'm being facetious because it's just going to be an amazing party. But I do have tickets to give away. So while supplies last, go to MistressCarrie.com, click the contact button, put Sammy in the subject, and make sure that I have your full name and your email address. And I will send as many pairs of tickets to winners tonight as I can. Good luck and have so much fun. I wish I could go, but I'm going to be away on vacation. So let's talk about some of the other shows and some of the other headlines that are happening, because there's a lot going on. Just announced, tickets go on sale this Friday to see Lamb of God and Killswitch Engage at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway. Tickets go on sale this Friday. The show is September 21st. Lamb of God making massive announcements. They have a new album coming out called Omens. The first single is coming out this Friday. And the MGM Music Hall at Fenway is going to be hosting a ton of shows. It holds about 5,000 people. It's a brand new venue right behind Fenway Park, diagonally across Lansdowne Street from the House of Blues. Godsmack is playing a fundraising show there coming up on August 27th. Those tickets are on sale as well. The Tattoo the Earth Festival is happening August 17th at the Palladium. It's going to be outdoors. That's Anthrax, Black Label Society, Hatebreed, At the Gates, Municipal Waste, and Enforced. Those tickets are on sale. And I mean, there's just so many different venues to choose from. Stained is going to be at the Mass Mutual Center in Springfield coming up on September 11th. Those tickets are on sale as well. And all of these shows, as I'm running them down, are on the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Shinedown and Jelly Roll and John Harvey are going to be at the Xfinity Center on September 13th. Weird Al and Emo Phillips will be at Indian Ranch on August 5th. Alice in Chains, Breaking Benjamin, and Bush are going to be at the Xfinity Center on October 8th. Gavin Rossdale recently doing an interview talking about how they're almost finished work on their upcoming new album. They said it's going to be heavy, just like The Kingdom was, which is the album that they released right around the beginning of COVID. Ann Wilson already released her new solo album, Fierce Bliss, but she's going to be at Indian Ranch coming up on July 23rd. And Aaron Lewis, who's already going to be in town on September 11th with Stained, is going to do a solo show at Indian Ranch on September 3rd with his solo band, the Stateliners. Let's see. Lit, who we just had Jeremy Popoff on the podcast from Lit. They are going to be at Mohegan Sun. Oh, shit. The show was a few days ago. Damn it. Drink. Typo on the show. Brianna, that's a really great point. If you already have a Ticketmaster account, use the email address when you're trying to win these Sammy Hagar tickets that you registered your Ticketmaster account with, because then I can transfer the tickets to you. Duncan says, thank you for all your lovely comments. Lorelai, oh, I love the name. Lorelai and Jen are doing good. Oh my God, that's amazing. So cute. Love the name. Love it, love it, love it. All right, back to the shows. Pussifer at the House of Blues on June 28th. Joe Satriani's going to be at the Orpheum on November 5th. Five Finger Death Punch, who's getting ready to release their new album, Afterlife, on August 19th. They are going out on the road with Megadeth, The Who, and Fire from the Gods. They're going to be at the Xfinity Center on September 18th. Those tickets are on sale now. AWOL Nation at the House of Blues in Boston on October 23rd. So many shows and so many different venues. It's crazy. Hailstorm, who just announced another leg of their tour coming up this fall. Different lineup. This tour, Hailstorm, The Pretty Reckless, The Warning, and Lil Azar is rolling into the Leaderbank Pavilion on July 19th. ZZ Top is going to be at the Leaderbank Pavilion on July 22nd, and that's the same day that their new live album, Raw, comes out. Extreme is going to be at Indian Ranch coming up on September 2nd and at the Hampton Beach Casino Ballroom on September 3rd. And if you would just rather wait and see them at Fenway Park, they're going to be opening up for Aerosmith on September 8th. And the Red Hot Chili Peppers are going to be at Fenway coming up on September 10th. Have you guys seen Flea in Obi-Wan Kenobi, the limited series that debuted on Disney Plus? He plays a bounty hunter, and you could totally tell it's him. And he has been out on the road playing shows and has been cheering against the Celtics, as any loyal Lakers fan would be. So go Seas! The series, the NBA Finals, tied 1-1. So brutal loss the other night. Just brutal. Flogging Molly and the Interrupters are going to be at the Leaderbank Pavilion on July 1st. Flogging Molly announcing that they are coming out with a new album in September. Rob Zombie, Mudvayne, Powerman 5000, and Static X are going to be at the Xfinity Center on July 30th. The Stadium Tour is rolling into Fenway August 5th and 6th, and that is Motley Crue. That's Def Leppard, Poison, and Joan Jett. And if you listen to my show all week on 100 FM The Pike in Worcester, we're giving away tickets as part of the Pike Season Pass. All this week, we're giving away Stadium Tour tickets, so be listening for that. Collective Soul and Switchfoot are going to be at Indian Ranch on August 6th, and Ghost, Mastodon, and Spirit Box will be at the Dunkin' Donuts Center on September 12th. I'm telling you, the concerts this year are just out of control. The Black Crowes will be at Tanglewood. Pardon me while I lift my pinky. At the end of June on the 29th. Blondie and the Damned at the Leaderbank Pavilion August 14th. Evanescence and Korn, who are both separately on tour right now in Europe, are going to be doing their co-headlining tour later this summer, August 26th, at the Xfinity Center. And don't forget about these new Netflix documentaries. The Bob Saget documentary debuts on June 10th, and the Norm Macdonald documentary. It's basically the last comedy special that Norm Macdonald ever did. And he filmed it by himself at his house in the middle of COVID while he knew he was dying of leukemia, but no one else did. And so that comedy special is also available on Netflix. There's a bunch of new music coming out this week. Fridays, all the new albums come out. And Billy Howardell's new album, What Normal Was, comes out this Friday. So if you want to hear about the record, the inspiration behind it, the songwriting, Billy and I got into a whole discussion on it on this week's episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast, episode 105, that comes out tomorrow. Kiss has their Off the Soundboard live at Donington 1996 live album coming out. And also, we just had them on the show a couple of weeks ago. Motionless in White has their new album, Scoring the End of the World. If you missed the episode with Chris Motionless from Motionless in White, we talked a lot about the making of this record, and it comes out this Friday. Okay, now we got all of those out of the way. Don't forget that we got a couple of shows, including the 4th annual 100 FM The Pike Hair Fest. That's July 30th at Indian Ranch, and tickets are on sale. Music starts at noon. It's a day show. A lot of day drinking is going to be happening at Indian Ranch. It's the 4th annual Hair Fest. There's going to be a lot of old retro concert shirts, a lot of mullet wigs, a lot of spandex and bandanas. It's a lot of fun. Mike Schuchuk, Perks, and I are all going to be there. The next day, the Pike presents Tesla at Indian Ranch on July 31st. And if you missed the episode of the podcast with Jeff Keith from Tesla, you definitely want to check that out. And then also the Pike is having Rockfest, which is going to be at Indian Ranch coming up on September 10th with a whole other list of amazing cover bands, including Draw the Line. So if you're an Aerosmith fan, if you're a Pat Benatar fan, there's just, if you're a Foreigner fan, there's just tons of great cover bands that are going to be there. So you don't want to miss that. And if you want to come and hang out with me, if you're looking for a place to go on the motorcycle, I am going to be at the open house for American Harley Davidson coming up on Saturday, June 25th. I'll be there from 11 to 1, but the open house goes all day, and they're going to have all kinds of great deals. They got a ton of bikes. They're doing oil changes for the price of just the oil and the filters, and they'll have a bunch of other specials as well. So if you want to come and hang out with me, I am going to be at American Harley Davidson in Leominster from 11 to 1 during their open house on June 25th. All right, mail call this week. No mail in the mail call, but here's the address. You can take a screen grab of it if you ever need to send me anything in the mail call. There it is. Also want to remind you guys that the tank tops are in. Orders are getting shipped out pretty quickly if you order stuff off the website. I have all of the sizes, both men's and women's, in both black and white. And the tank tops are selling really well. You guys were right. You guys were like, we want tank tops. We want tank tops. I made them, and you guys were totally right. I'm sorry it took me so long. And I'll definitely be sporting one of those when I'm down in Key West on vacation. You can also get Mistress Carrie merchandise at Joe's Albums as well. And Joe's Albums not only is selling the Mistress Carrie merch, but they are also a sponsor of the Mistress Carrie radio show on the Pike in Worcester. And what's really cool is that I have been working with Joe's Albums, and they are going to put a special Mistress Carrie rack in Joe's Albums that I am going to pick my favorite records, new releases, collectibles, whatever. And there's going to be a Mistress Carrie rack at Joe's Albums that you're going to be able to go and be able to sift through. And one of the things they said, okay, well, what do you want to put in there? And I was like, oh, can we put that Tool box set on vinyl in there? Yeah, please, let's do that. So there's just a bunch of great stuff, old stuff, collectible stuff, new releases. They have everything at Joe's Albums. And by the way, if you have vinyl that you want to get rid of, say you find boxes of vinyl in the basement, or somebody gives you vinyl, you don't know what to do with it, you can take it to Joe's Albums, and they're going to be able to tell you, because they're experts. This is what they do. This is what's worth a lot of money, and they'll actually buy it from you. Then they get it professionally cleaned, and then they sell used vinyl at the store among all of the other things that they have, and their selection is pretty awesome. And if you go to joesalbums.com, you can actually buy stuff right out of the store off the website if you don't want to go to the store, you don't live anywhere near Worcester, but you love vinyl, their website's pretty awesome. All right, if today is your birthday, you share your birthday with some legends. And I'm not talking about Iggy Azalea when I say legends. Dean Martin shares your birthday today. Tom Jones shares your birthday today. So Duncan, These are all of the birthdays that Lorelai shares. Here you go. Your daughter was born on Dean Martin's birthday. She was born on Tom Jones's birthday. She was born on Prince's birthday. She was born on Dave Navarro from Jane's Addiction's birthday. And she was also born on Iggy Azalea's birthday. Happy unbirthday to Keith, by the way. Carrie's the second most popular rack at Joe's. Yes, you can go and stare at my rack if you want to at Joe's Albums, Brito. Absolutely. Judy says, my sister-in-law just came back from Florida with COVID. I am so sorry. It affects everybody differently, and I'm happy that I've been able to avoid it, but also heartbroken that my mom came down with it, and she was so mentally affected by it. Not even physically affected by it, but just mentally affected by it. Brett says, thank you to the Pike for the floor seats for Paul McCartney at Fenway tomorrow. Brett from the War Room actually won the tickets over Memorial Day weekend off of 100 FM the Pike. So congratulations. Have an absolute blast. You are going to see a Beatle. I saw Paul McCartney do the halftime show at the Super Bowl in Jacksonville when the Patriots beat the Eagles. And it was like, I don't know what was more amazing, that I watched the Patriots win the Super Bowl or that I was watching a Beatle do the halftime show. So Brett, have an absolutely wonderful time. So those are all of the birthdays. I also want to remind you about the Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass on Patreon. There's a lot of different things you get access to, including a ton of ticket giveaways. If you have a Backstage Pass, not only do you have access to the Sammy Hagar tickets that we're giving away here in the War Room, you have access to the Pussifer tickets, the Rob Zombie tickets, and tickets to see Korn and Evanescence. So if you have a Backstage Pass, you get access to a lot of cool ticket giveaways. You also get exclusive live streams. We did ours on Sunday at 7:30. We'll have a new date at the end of this month to get back together again. You can also submit podcast interview questions. You get private travel blog updates, which I'm going to be doing a lot of while I'm on my vacation in Key West. You get early access to event tickets and exclusive concert ticket giveaways and so much more. So go to patreon.com/Mistress Carrie, or just click the Patreon logo at mistresscarrie.com and get yourself a Backstage Pass. And then you can get in on all of the cool stuff. Here's all the places that you can find me online: Twitter, obviously, Instagram, Facebook, obviously, because you're joining me here on the show, TikTok, Cameo, YouTube, Patreon, like I said. All of the links, everything is at mistresscarrie.com. So if you can't remember my handle, you just want the links, your details on the podcast, all the episodes of the War Room, whatever it is, stuff on the radio show, you can check out my blog there. The photo gallery is under construction. There's so many pictures that I need to get categorized and captioned and put up, and that is a goal of mine to do at some point this year. I just have not been able to do it. Mike says, I've seen a lot of shaky cell phone videos of the Paul show tonight. Looks like a pretty awesome time. Yeah, Paul McCartney is, I mean, he's a legend. Ringo Starr's been in town recently with his all-star band. I wonder if Ringo is still in town and if he may jump up on stage with Paul McCartney. But these artists, I mean, we were talking about Alec John Such from Bon Jovi, right? And he was only 70. The Rolling Stones are out on their 60th anniversary tour. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards are almost 80. And there are so many amazing artists that if you have not had a chance to see them, don't wait. I know it's hard to decide which shows you want to go to because there's so many, and obviously you can't afford to go to all of them. I can't anyway, unless I win Powerball. What's up, Haas? Thanks for joining us in the War Room. But see the artists that you might regret never seeing if you lose the opportunity to. I mean, you know, Robert Plant and Alison Krauss are out on the road right now. That's a tour I have not seen. And they're doing these amazing Americana versions of some Zeppelin tunes. And Ringo and Paul would be crazy. I know, right? I mean, Ringo was at the Hanover Theater on Tuesday night. That's what I'm saying. the Ringo Starr All-Star Band, they weren't just at the Hanover. They've been doing a bunch of shows in the area, and they're playing at Tanglewood too. So is it possible that Ringo could show up at one of these shows? I don't know. I'm not trying to start a rumor. I'm just saying they're both in New England at the same time. They got the money for a plane or a helicopter to get them from one gig to the next. It's all I'm saying. Fat Angus, the AC/DC tribute, is playing at Harry's Pub tonight in Brockton. Nice. McCartney, 321 on Hulu is a great documentary. Oh, Ryan, I absolutely loved it. Sitting down with Rick Rubin and analyzing the recording process. That special made me really listen to Beatles music differently. Hearing Paul McCartney kind of break down the difference in upbringing that he had versus John Lennon, and that's where Lennon's cynicism came from, and that it was the combination of the optimism of Paul McCartney coming from this idyllic family, and then the cynicism of John Lennon, that's what makes the Beatles music so amazing. And I never thought about it that way until I watched that McCartney 321 special on Hulu with Rick Rubin, because when you go back and listen to the Beatles, there'll be a really happy melody with really sad lyrics, or a really sad melody with really happy lyrics. And that is the brilliance of the Lennon-McCartney songwriting team. If you haven't seen it, Ryan, you are totally right. It's so good. You got to check it out. Barbara says Robert Plant, bucket list, did not disappoint. I mean, obviously, I've seen Robert Plant. I saw him on the Now and Zen tour. Obviously, I was never able to see Led Zeppelin, but I would love to go and see him with Alison Krauss just to kind of experience that different kind of a show. I say to someone, I'm going to the show because I may not be able to see them again. Life happens. Just go and do, says Betty. Exactly. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, that I think COVID has taught us some things, that like some things shouldn't be put off. You know, when you get a chance to see your friends, see your friends. When you get a chance to hug people, hug them. If you get a chance to travel, travel. Because none of this is promised. Tomorrow isn't promised, which is exactly part of the mindset of why I'm going away this weekend and going on vacation, because why keep putting it off? That's something that I've learned from my mom and taking care of my mom with her illness. She worked her whole life and worked to be able to take advantage of those retiring years. And she didn't get the retiring years. She does not get to enjoy jet setting around the world, just being able to do all of the things that other people that are fortunate enough to retire get to do, because she can't do them. So do all the things. Just, if we've learned anything here in the War Room over everything that we've been through together over the last couple of years and then some, do the things when you can do the things, and hug the people when you can hug the people, because you might not get another chance. All right, guys. So here's the deal. Episode 105 featuring Billy Howardell of the Mistress Carrie podcast goes live at midnight. If you have a backstage pass, be on the lookout for travel blogs starting this weekend. And if you're going to join me here in the War Room for episode 188 next Tuesday night, I don't know where I'm going to be doing the War Room yet. I can almost guarantee that I'm going to have key lime pie with me, because it is my goal to eat key lime pie from a different place every day during my vacation, because it's one of my favorites, and I'm doing it and I don't care. I'm going to ride my bike and eat really healthy the rest of the time so I can eat the fucking pie. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I cannot wait to check in with you guys next week from Key West. Enjoy your week. Stay positive. I hope everyone is healthy and happy. And Keith says, I can co-host. Kathy says, have a great vacation. Safe travels. Good night to the family, says Elsa. Best of luck with your foot, says Jonathan. Yeah. Urgent care tomorrow morning. Emergency splinter removal from the arch of my foot. I am in agony. I will let you guys know how that goes tomorrow. Keep an eye on my Instagram, my Twitter, and my Facebook. Obviously, if you have a backstage pass, you'll know before everybody. All right, guys, I'll see you guys next week, live from Key West. Good night.